You once wrote, "Now might be the time for a reset. I want you to consider letting go. Not giving up, but letting go. Let go of expenses that forced you into a job you don't really like. Let go of choices you made years ago, but now feel trapped in. Pressing reset isn't giving up, it's a chance to rebuild." For students who are just starting out, how can they adopt the reset mindset early before they fall into traps like lifestyle creep or feeling stuck?
Yeah, so your entire education is progression, from the time you're in kindergarten to elementary school to middle to high school through college. And so it feels like everything must build on the previous moment. And I think what a person learns financially is it's just not that simple, because money is not about the math you've learned for the last 16 years. Money's about behavior. And as many young people know, your behavior is probably not even close to what it really should be until you've been an adult for 20 years. I still deal with people in their 40s and 50s with massive behavior issues, if not older. So I think just taking a deep breath, seeing the examples you had in front of you with your parents or whoever raised you, and just saying, like, what do I want? Do I want a crazy lifestyle that shows a bunch of stuff but makes me feel unstable, or do I want stability? And I think that's where it begins.
Do you think students coming out of school, they might have a job presented to them that pays a higher salary, but the company may not invest to them as much with hard skills? Do they think they should take that job or step back and take maybe the other job that may not have the higher salary, but will invest into them?
I mean, I don't love giving it depends answers, but I'm going to give you an it depends answer. I mean, the reality is not everyone grew up in the same situation. So if you don't value soft and hard skills the way maybe someone else does, and you grew up in a family that was unstable financially, then taking the money is much more appealing. Now, I think what you're getting at, Keegan, is the actual better answer is to probably invest in yourself long term. But I always think back. I was in a position similar to yours, talking to different folks at different stages of their career, and I talked to a gentleman by the name of Don Brown, serial entrepreneur here in Indianapolis. You probably will want to talk to him. He sold companies for hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and I was asking him once about taking risks when you're in your early 20s, because what you just said is, well, should you take a risk and take less money to learn more skills? I mean, that's the question. And he said, well, when you're in your 20s, there's no such thing as risk. Like, you're misevaluating the situation. You have to not worry about the failure that comes with a bad decision there. You got to just go for it, because you literally have nothing to lose. You haven't built up all of these things to lose. So that's the lens of which I'd look through that.
And then you went from hosting a radio show to becoming a nationally recognized financial expert. And what would you say to students who feel pressure to have a straight career path but are still figuring out their direction?
Well, you gotta do what you love. I mean, which is both amazing and terrible advice. It's a some people are like, well, I like doing this. Here's what I like doing. I liked presenting and entertaining as a former comedian. I liked helping people understand things that are not that easy to understand. And so that's what I pursued. And I just took a weird path about it. And I think it's also too, and why I look up to what you're doing with this project you're on now. It's like, I'm sure not all your reps are perfect. I'm sure that you ask a question and you think about it later, like, man, I could have done that better. You just got to get reps. You literally have to put a bunch of mistakes out there so you know what to do better. Even to this day, when I start a new project, I was just talking about it prior to you to get in my office. It's like, let's just get the mistakes out of the way. Let's go. Like, I'd rather not spend so much time trying to not make an error. Let's just go. We'll figure it out. And so for me, before I was in the media at all, the little camera on my computer, I'd flip it up, and I would just do talks to the camera in front of me and get like this. I'm better at it now, but I was real bad. You're so bad that you'd be looking at the camera and you couldn't even tell a person's looking at the camera because their eyes can't do it. And so just get the bad stuff out of the way. And that's what practice is all about.
And part of that direction isn't just about careers, it's about how you handle money along the way. And you've said most money problems aren't about math, they're about behavior. What's one behavioral shift students can make right now that will set them up for financial success later?
I think people got to look at an area of their life in which they're proud of the behavior in that area. Some people it's nutrition, some people it's fitness, some people it's faith or relationships or being on time. So look at what good behavior looks like in an area of your life that isn't money, and then try to say, okay, well, I'm capable of good behavior. What does that look like for money? And I think for some people, they just put so much pressure on themselves with money. Sometimes you'll read financial advice of like, people spend too much money at Starbucks. That is both true, but also not that simple.
Yeah.
If you are incredibly stressed out and that $5 coffee is the joy of your day, I'll tell you, Keegan, I don't have a massive problem with that. Like, I really don't. I mean, I can do the math too. $5 a day for 30 years, you can buy a BMW. Who cares? I mean, because it doesn't actually work like that. So I think it's just finding patterns of behavior in other parts of your life that are good. I'll tell you this, one of the tricks I've learned in the last 25 years of work is when I want to get my professional life better, I focus on my fitness. I mean, I've gone through at least 3 massive, massive fitness journeys where I've gotten really lean, really strong. And every time I do it, my career through the roof because it's just like transferring that discipline. This morning I had to be in Bloomington at dark 30 and I was in the gym at 5 a.m. this morning and I could have skipped my run, but I was just like, I can't skip my run because what else am I going to skip if I do that? You know?
So if you were looking back at yourself in college, what are the systems that students should have set up financially? Is it invest 20% into your retirement? Is it take all your money and take a risk? What's the framework for that?
Yeah, that earlier comment about risk has me thinking all your viewers are going to be deep in the crypto. Maybe I should have disclaimed that. I'd say first of if you have student loans coming out of school, figure that out absolutely first. Like figure out what your payment is. I know you got a 6-month grace period, but like figure it out and then set that money aside before you pick your place to live, before you pick your car. Like that is number one. Beyond that, if you start a job and they happen to have a retirement plan, I like at least 15% towards that. And if you do that, not only will you absolutely be a millionaire because it's just math at that point, but you won't become too dependent on your income. Lifestyle creep will not hurt you if you're at least at 50%, 15%, 1.5. And then the rest is just establish an emergency fund and not trying to replicate the lifestyle you likely had as an older teen that most parents are able to provide because they're at the peak of their career. If you think about that for a second, a lot of people, not everybody, have a pretty nice older adolescence because their parents, in some families, are at the prime earning years of their career. So they can provide this lifestyle that when you try to replicate it 4 or 5 years later, you just can't do it. And it's the people that try to just go back to that style and that expectation they had when they were 18. Those are the people that usually don't land on their feet too well.
That could be a hard thing to admit and also to view. How can someone take a step back and say, okay, my parents did provide me all of this, the vacations. How can they be humble in that?
It's hard, because let's take actually the opposite of that for a second. Let's say you grew up in a family in which there wasn't a lot of stability. You get a great job right out of school. You're making some serious cash, and you want to be proud of yourself. You want to get that car because at that point, you are very proud of what you've overcome or what you've been able to do. There's not actually nothing wrong with that, right? But at some point, if you do that too much, you'll tie your net worth to your self-worth. And then when you have a financial challenge, it will actually crush you. Like you will be emotionally wrecked because you'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm back to how it was when I was a kid. And it gets real dark real fast.
In your Money Life books, you outline financial priorities for every decade. And if you had to boil it down, what's the single most important money habit someone in their 20s should build?
I would think get a hold of your student loans. I mean, and if you don't have student loans, then it's get your retirement set first. No one loves hearing this when they're 22, 23. The hardest thing you will ever do financially is retire successfully. And so most people hear that at 22 or 23. I remember thinking it when I was 22 or 23, which was a very long time ago. And you're like, okay, cool, but who cares? It's like, well, no, actually you can make it incredibly easy by just taking care of it now and then never worrying about it again.
And then it's not just about those habits when they're young. It's also talking about money in a way that feels real and approachable. And you've emphasized that money conversation should be shame-free. What advice would you give to students about starting honest conversations with money with family, friends, or mentors without embarrassment?
Yeah, I think what's interesting about money is it's become such a status thing that it feels character driven. Like if you're doing well, it says something great about your character. I think what is really character driven is realizing that everyone's situation is different. And again, I grew up in an upper middle class family, didn't have student loans. I was in a really good spot. So whatever success I have had, Keegan, I mean, I may have just tiptoed across the line because I think my community and my parents and my school set me up for that. So I think sometimes people take too much credit for their financial stability and they take too much blame for it being unstable. And it's just sort of figuring that out and not being ashamed to talk through it. The other thing is like, and this comes with wisdom too. If most people's parents just literally were doing the best they could. I mean, they didn't know. They didn't know, and they still don't know. But I'm a parent of two teens. You still don't know. You're just doing the best you can. And so extending them a little grace and not putting too much pressure on them because they were once you and look, the whole point is you don't know right now either, you know?
If someone is looking to kind of find stability and have those conversations with money, where would you go? Like, who should they go to? Because some of their friends are saying, go out and buy the BMW, you can afford it. And other people are telling them to save. How do they manage kind of that bubble?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? Because people find community online now today. And another way to say that is people find community in various video platforms, whether it be YouTube or TikTok or whatever. And so naturally, the easiest thing to do is to find a person's personality that you like and adopt their way of thinking. And I'm not here to say that's good or bad. I'll say that is the easiest way to go. I think beyond that is you get in the workplace and you find someone you look up to and you value their character and how they present themselves. Just humbly pulling them aside and say, man, if I'm in your position 10 years from now or whatever, that'd be really cool. Are you okay if I just sort of ask you some financial stuff? And here's the thing about that. It's a bit of a trap in good and bad. If you're a person of character and good judgment, you're going to pick a person that's a mentor that is going to be good. If you still have some development yet to do there, the example you might pick may not be so good. So there's some pressure in that.
And speaking of approachable, you and your team just launched something really innovative, and it is the Moneyline Personalized Financial Podcast, where users get a one-to-one update on their own financial life and what episode they should listen to. What role do you think personalization will play for the next generation when it comes to financial wellness?
So you and I talked about how hard a money conversation could be. Our premise is, what if your money talks to you? And it is all of your transactions, your credit, your financial goals, what's going on in the market and the economy. And every week we serve up a 4-minute podcast literally based on your behavior and decisions that is facilitated in a way that is approachable and non-judgmental. And it's like, hey, you really feeling the Chick-fil-A last week, weren't you? Good thing it's not open 7 days a week because you would have gone 7 times, right? Like that sort of idea where it's like, you can kind of laugh at it. It's going to do some math for you and at least be a positive financial conversation that can guide you.
And you've written books, hosted shows, built companies, and has been recognized as one of Indiana's most influential leaders. Mm-hmm. Looking back, how did mentors shape your journey, and what can students do to attract the right kind of mentors today?
Yeah, I think having the guts to reach out to someone and just being like, I kind of think I like what you're doing, even though maybe I don't understand what you do. I've had I mean, I've done that a million times myself, right? And it's paid off. So, I had my mentor. I'm thinking about a couple of them, probably, I don't know, 15 years older than me, right? And it's a way to just like, it's sort of like since I have a family and I have kids, I sort of like their kids' stage of life is at a different stage of mine, and you kind of look ahead. And I think that's really interesting. I also think you got to be self-aware. Whatever successes you've had are not your successes alone, and it's not taking anything away from anybody. It's just like your community is part of that, and so you in turn you have to return the favor if you find yourself in a position of stability of, all right, well, who are the next young bucks coming up, and what can we do with them? So I have both been I've been on either side of this, and it's worked out pretty well.
When a student or someone does find that mentor, how can they be a good mentee to that mentor who's investing their time into them?
Yeah, I think it's trying not to impress the mentor. The mentor doesn't want to be impressed with whatever feels impressive. Like I just don't like honest discourse, like honest discussion, honest feelings. I I don't love when people try to impress me with stuff. I just like, let's just talk. Let's like, what do you got going on? Uh, here's the best way to deal. If you're dealing with a challenge, whether it's in work or personal life, especially work, you go to a mentor. Here's what I'm dealing with, mentor. Here's how I'm thinking about solving it. What do you think? So it's one thing to say something's wrong. The better way to say something's wrong. Here's how I'm thinking about solving it. Beat that up for me. Let's fix it. That is the best way to get out a good mentor relationship.
And then to wrap up the podcast, we like to do a couple rapid fire
Yeah, let's
questions.
go.
So what is one money belief that took you too long to unlearn?
You know, probably renting's throwing your money away. It's a very 25, 30-year-old concept that really doesn't apply today because of cultural dynamics. It is both functionally true and wildly impractical. Renting is flexibility, and in some stages of your life, you need flexibility. You don't necessarily need net worth building.
One book every student should read before graduation.
That's a good one. Hopefully you'll edit this, me thinking here. I'm a huge reader. I read a ton.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd rather be inspired by a work than to have it be instructional to me. So I'm just as inspired by good fiction from a business perspective than I am a business book. And as a writer, it's a really weird thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just as inspired by having an amazing meal at a restaurant and how it stokes my creativity as a creator, and reading something like To Kill a Mockingbird, right? Like I find more value out of that than reading literally any business book that's ever been written.
And then one financial skill students aren't learning in class, but they need to.
I'd say that the goal is not to seek permission from lenders on how much they'll let you borrow, because they're going to give you a terrible answer. They're going to say, well, here's what we'll risk on you, and it's way beyond what you can do. Truly knowing what you can afford is the way to go, not asking the person who's going to lend you money, because you will end up in a bad spot.
Gotcha. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.